Well, well, well. Nigeria, where politicians change parties more often than they change their phone numbers. This week's episode, a grand political migration in Delta State, and what is being hailed as a mass defection, because in Nigeria, politicians switch sides, or switching sides is considered a historic event and not just routine betrayal. And we all watched with popcorn in hand as prominent PDP leaders, including Governor Sheriff Oborevwori and former governor and running mate of Atiku Abubakar for the general elections in 2023, Ifeanyi Okowa, waltzed over to the APC. Yes, you heard that right. The same APC they passionately condemned not long ago, as if thunder wouldn't strike mid-crossover. They condemned that party so bad, the same APC that they blamed for economic hardship, insecurity, and the collapse of the Nigerian dream. Have we all forgotten Muhammadu Buhari's tenure? But of course, in the grand tradition of Nigerian politicians, principles are flexible. Loyalty, negotiable. Conscience, a small price to pay for relevance. Now, let's not pretend we're surprised. Our politicians have perfected the art of political cross-dressing. Red today, blue tomorrow, green the next day, or multicolored like me. Manifestos are less about ideologies and more about survival instincts. Like a desperate football player in the transfer window, it's not about the love of the game, it's about who's offering the better paycheck, the juicier perks, or the ticket back to power relevance ahead of 2027. And the APC, the APC is rolling out the red carpet like they just recruited superstars, because they really have big wigs from the PDP. And you'd think Messi and Ronaldo had joined their squad the way they're all ready to sign them on, register their new members of the APC. Meanwhile, they're busy recycling the same tired players who couldn't even keep their previous teams afloat. I'm talking to you, Ifeanyi Okowa. A party that promised change in 2015 is now hosting a political refugee camp. I said it. Because tell me, where exactly is the change when your newest converts are the same folks who once described as the architects of Nigeria's woes? But of course, hypocrisy in Nigeria's politics isn't a bug. It's a feature. It's the standard. And for those defectors or defectors, the ones now singing, "On your mandate we shall stand. On your mandate, It's okay. Here's a free tip for you. Changing jerseys wouldn't change the scorecard or the scoreboard. You can defect all you want, but if the people you seek to lead are still angry, hungry, disillusioned, no party logo will save you at the ballot box. If only INEC will play fair. Because this is in 1999. The voters are watching. So come 2027, they just might return the favor, defecting from your political promises into the arms of their own destiny. In the end, all these desperate political tango moves only exposes a hard truth. Many of our leaders are not motivated by service. They have never been motivated by service. They are motivated by fear. Fear of irrelevance, fear of accountability, fear of missing out on the next government paycheck. It's not about the people. It's never been about the people. It's about the perks. It's not about principle. It's about power. And maybe who can buy an election. But hear this. You all are playing a losing game, and time will be your teacher. And as they continue playing musical chairs with our political future, remember, the louder they shout for the people, the tighter they hold on to their personal interest. But not to worry, The people are watching. And history has a very long memory, Ifeanyi Okowa. A memory that not even the finest party defection can erase. Ain't that right, Ms. Zeno?
Yes, indeed, it is. It would seem so. Especially, I love that analogy about people with the cross-dressing politicians and everything. That was funny. I wish I wrote that.
Yeah, I love it. I was like, because we talked about colors. I was like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, you know, the switching gears.
It's open season. Transfer window is open right now. Then to bring in the football analogy.
I know, it really is. Yeah. It's open season for every single one of them. But hey, we're getting ready for Breakfast Extra. As you know, it's all geared up for you. So am I. He's got his cup of coffee. You go grab yours. Let's get started on Breakfast Extra for a Sunday morning.
Well, good morning once again and welcome to your favorite weekend companion. It's Breakfast Extra, the Sunday edition this time, and we've got a packed lineup for you today. Full of big stories, important conversations, and also inspiring insight from across Africa and maybe even beyond. Now, first, the pot is boiling, and not in a good way. We spotlight a sobering new report. West Africa's food crisis is deepening, with Nigeria and Ghana right at the heart of it. In Nigeria, the average cost of cooking a pot of jollof rice has jumped from 21,000 naira in September 2024 to 25,000 naira by March 2025. That's a staggering 20% increase. And we'll be unpacking what the Jollof Index tells us about hunger, hardship, and also survival in today's West Africa. And then to Delta State, Nigeria, where the political chessboard is ablaze, as you've just heard us say in our monologue from the opening. Mass defection from PDP to APC have rattled the system. But make no mistake, too many kings in one kingdom can only end one way: chaos. We'll talk about that. And that's not all. On Wellness Central, we'll tackle Nigeria's growing obesity crisis with a medical expert, as rising food insecurity and poor nutrition drive an alarming health trend. And on Extra Special, we explore how African creators are fighting back against the theft and exploitation in the digital age, tech versus theft. It's a conversation you definitely don't want to miss. And on Focus Africa, we head to Ghana, where President John Mahama has suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonor, I hope I got that right, over serious misconduct allegations. All this and more inside of Breakfast Extra here. Of course, we're going to be doing the dailies in just about a bit. And of course, well, perhaps maybe we should get started. What do you think,
Absolutely.
Judith?
Yeah. It's going to be a full show today. Health, politics, and of course, the papers. And we get started with the very first one. It's going to be Sunday Vanguard, as we pull it up right there for you on the screen. Our Sunday Vanguard for this morning, it gets started with it's over, Tinubu has captured PDP, angry founding father. Nigerians too clever to allow one-party system. That's from Bode George there, Bode George. We will laugh last, Wabara. That's from page 10. You can find all of this and more on the Sunday Vanguard. At top there, Rage, Hope, Trail, battered opposition. Tragedy as truck falls off Lagos Bridge, crushes two buses. You can find that, sir. I didn't see it.
Oh, it was something you only see in movies, actually. You'd never think that. I think that's the bridge not too far from us here, and the buses totally fell off of the edge and onto two other buses. You'd ask, what movie is this? But it was real. I think a very, very scary scene from yesterday. I'll show you a video.
Please don't.
It won't be.
Oh no.
You have to
may their souls rest in peace. I hope no lives are lost, but if they were, please may their souls rest in peace. We continue with the Sunday Vanguard. CBN to redouble efforts on reforms. Cardoso Edun. We are returning home to build buffers. That story there is on page 4. Delta defections on Setu, Oshun, Anambra, Abia, Enugu, Plateau. Rivers is next bull's eye. Akwa Ibom on Clare, Edo, Cross River in Tinubu's Kitty. You can find that story on page 25. Alarm in Ibori's camp as Oborevwori Okowa negotiate with APC. That story is on page 25. I have no plan to defect from Labour Party.
That's what they say.
That's from Governor Oti. You can find that story on page 26. All of this and more is just it's scattered around the paper this morning.
All of the defections are such an interesting take.
Interesting. Sellouts is what they are. Sellouts. Joseph's brothers. Otedola come to Chukwu's rescue when Igbos ignored him. Uwobodo, you can find that story on page 29. 130 world leaders, over 250,000 worshippers bid Pope farewell. That story there was on page 6, and we did an in-depth coverage of that yesterday on our show. Right at the bottom there, merchants of death in trillion naira fake drug business. That story is on page 12. Shootings as gunmen invade pro-Wike rally in Bayelsa. Find that story on page 26. And finally, for the Sunday Vanguard, again, Boko Haram kills 12 in Borno. Find the story on page 26. Pretty much all of the news for the Sunday Vanguard.
Yes, indeed. Now we're going to move on to the Sunday Punch this morning, and we've got this front and center here. 2027, Tinubu's counterattack scatters opposition. On page 3, you'll find this. Parties allege inducements, blackmail amid defection gale. How Tinubu turned tide against opponents, and they didn't see that one coming. At the very top for the Punch, revealed terror routes behind Nigeria's a rising bloodbath. And JAM nabs 40 impersonators as parents decry exam resumption time. I'm going to get details on that resumption time for the JAM exams. My twins must not bring another SS child to the world.
Oh, I thought you were talking about stacks and smoke.
No. This is are you talking about this one headline?
You don't know the reference, do you?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay.
But this is about the sickle cell, situation here. It says a sickle cell patient. And police rescue 84 trafficked Congolese in Oyo. And rivalry among musicians bring out the best in them. H producer Adeyanju. Do you agree with that? Do you think rivalry in the Nigerian music scene brings the best out of Nigerian artists, or is it just worse? I mean, if you think about the instances we've had from the past, I don't think it was you know. But interesting take there on the JAM situation.
Because it breeds animosity as opposed to competition.
So regarding the JAM resumption time, there on the Punch newspaper, inside of the Punch, it actually tells that parents are actually not very happy as they're lamenting the 6:30 a.m. resumption time for the exam was too early for candidates, adding that many may have to travel several kilometers to their examination centers. And this I know. One of my centers for JAM was way across the state, and it took me quite a while to get there I think I must have been 15 or 16 at the time. So that's actually very scary to ask children to actually resume at such and such a time for examinations, which they should be well prepared for and relaxed for in the first place. Putting them through perhaps Lagos is not the best first.
And I think this just goes to foresight, really. If you're going to be, there have been years in preparing for these examinations, and so by now they ought to have known how best to arrange.
Computer-based would have worked. Computer-based.
No, I mean, if logistics is the issue, and people's examination centers are miles away from them, and then you have to find a solution, find a way where you are putting them at least 2 or 3 kilometers away from home. So logistics play, again, it's all about foresight, and that's what we lack incredibly in our
40
leadership.
impersonators, by the way, that's
another one.
That's not a big number, in fact. Let's
another one completely.
Yeah.
Anyway, from Sunday Punch, we move to Sunday Tribune. For this morning for our dailies. This one here, activities for Pa Ayo Adebanjo's burial begin Wednesday with Day of Tributes in Lagos. Again, find that story for page 4. Pa Ayo Adebanjo is one of the pioneer leaders for the Afenifere group. Right next to it, Buhari's government borrowed $400 billion to stabilize Naira against dollar. Senator Adeola reveals. You can find that story on page 4. The big one here, killings, 50 communities in 5 Benue local governments lost to herdsmen. SEMA, that story is on page 2. Emir tasks security agencies to focus on those giving intel to bandits in Plateau. Others. And at the bottom, Iwo has no right over disputed area, Olubadan. You can find that story on page 2. Remain steadfast. Adeleke urges Osun PDP members. You can find that story on page 6 as well. Adeleke, they're coming for you. They're coming for you. Sorry.
Don't worry, Davido will protect them.
My guy.
I'm sorry I made that reference.
My guy.
Unrelated. Go on.
No candidate posted outside chosen examination center. That story is on page. That's JAM there on page 5. Wike orders crackdown on quack doctors, illegal hospitals in the FCT. Find the story on page 7. Opaleke, 16 African cardinals to join others to appoint new pope. That's on pages 9 and 25. Pope buried in underground tomb as world leaders bid him farewell. Politicians should emulate late Pope Bishop Badijo. You can find the story on pages 9 and 25. No candidate posted outside chosen examination center. You got a point there, because when they ask you, I think you should stop telling them where they should be choosing and give them examination centers within a 3-mile radius of their address. Fix it, all right? Foresight. So they stop blaming you.
Let's move now to the Sunday Times. Headline here for the Sunday Times. Promotion controversy rocks, says MPF. Rocks MPF as officers laments juniors get elevated over seniors. Very interesting thing here. That's because the personnel of the police force courses 27, 28, 29, they were promoted ahead of seniors in course 26. And this is sparking outrage, apparently. The officers of the 2021 General Duty Batch Course 26 said that they were unjustly sidelined. So it's happening everywhere, even in the police force. Well, there must be a reason, perhaps. Maybe there will be a statement regarding that. GG Nattip orders sexual allegation probe against an MFM Geo Olukoya. And also NAS roof leakage. Construction company debunks media reports. Gunmen attack pro-Wike mega rally in Bayelsa. And dangers I faced mobilizing against ex-president Jonathan Amechi is out. Write a book, Amechi. Emir identifies those behind Plateau killings. Oh, finally, please, can we really need information regarding the Plateau situation. And if that's going to come from local sources, then so be it, because the army and Nigerian police have noted that they are a bit miffed and in the situation regarding the origins of these attacks or why they are happening. And Wike orders crackdown on quackery in FCT police. I think you just talked about that from a previous paper, another iteration here. Scattered across
and it's working. It's showing you that it cares about healthcare, but also
the bulldozer,
also pulling down
everything in his path, including the opposition.
But I didn't want to say it. I said pulling down strongholds. You had to go and say it.
Oh, but that's what it is, isn't it?
Gosh,
it's very interesting. Some of the statements he made last week regarding the state of the PDP. I just can't understand the situation because he's in the PDP, and I'm like, Uncle, what's going on? Interesting.
We did take Sunday Vanguard earlier. Pretty much, we've taken Sunday.
Yeah, 4 papers done. Yes, and we have taken a Sunday Vanguard.
We have taken it earlier. I think pretty much.
Yeah.
So we have taken pretty much all of the papers for today, for all the Sunday. All right, let's we're taking all of the papers.
We have.
Yeah. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, we get started on the biggest stories in Africa and, most importantly, Nigeria. But first, after the break, stay with us.
And you're welcome. In a nation where many citizens grapple with erratic electricity supply, the recent announcement of a 10 billion naira solar power project for the Aso Rock presidential villa has sparked widespread debates. Now, the presidency defends the initiative by drawing parallels to similar sustainable energy efforts in global seats of power, such as the White House. However, this development raises questions about prioritization, especially when numerous Nigerians endure daily power outages and limited access to reliable electricity. Now, while the government invests in renewable energy for its administrative hub, many communities remain underserved. Reports indicate that only about 45% of Nigerian population is connected to the national grid. The power supply averaging just 4 hours per day in some areas, if you're lucky. This disparity highlights the urgent need for broader infrastructural development to ensure equitable energy distribution across the country. So we went out on the streets and we asked individuals how many hours of power they get per day in comparison to perhaps maybe what the presidency might be getting from now on. And this is what we found out.
To be pessimistic, I can boast of 21 hours out of the 24 hours. Although the price can be very, very high, sometimes within a month, due to the fact that there's nobody at home and I off my lights, I spend nothing less than 30 to 40,000 naira per month. Although comparatively it's cheaper than the running cost of petrol. And for a long time now I've not on my generator, so it's a plus for me. It is unfair to some people because some of my sites, those people can hardly boast for 5 hours of light in every 2 days because they'll tell you that it's 1 day on, 1 day off, and it is actually affecting businesses over there. And there are a lot of people that are willing to pay even what I'm paying in my residence.
Majorly, we have like more than 15 hours light per day, and we recharge for like some 50,000, and it takes us like a month. Yeah, I think the amount is okay because of the light they are giving us. So I think it's always equivalent to the amount we are paying and the light they are giving us per day.
Right now, I can just say we are on like 13 to 14 hours. It's not like the regular bandit they promised us, but at least they give us the lights for some period, and at least I load up to like 10,000 naira in a week. Some people cannot afford it, like my colleagues, they can't afford to buy that kind of amount in a week due to their businesses and their profits.
If I'm not exaggerating, I think we get like 20 hours per day. That's if the grid is not 40, 20 hours per day. But if it's 40, you might go a whole day without having lights. And it's very expensive. Per unit is 227 naira. So in a week, you are spending nothing less than 7 to 8K. But I think it's better because then you have steady light and you don't have to waste money for fuel. So that's just the only benefit. But then it's steady in the pocket, especially when the business is not coming in, like the sales are not coming in very well. So it will definitely tell. But they've been light, no doubt.
I must say the electricity is quite regular, but we have to turn it off sometimes to regulate because the tariff is very high. During the day, you have to switch it off so you don't end up spending more on electricity. I think 3 years ago it was fair enough. So as time goes on, it gets expensive, more expensive, and before you know, you can't even use your normal home appliances.
In our own side, we have like, let me say 10 or 8 hours every day, okay? But our neighbors, they have like 20, 21 hour light every day because they are band A, okay? We don't use prepaid meter in our own house, but in most houses in band A, they have prepaid meter. I guess that is why they have more lights. We wish for more electricity, we are ready to pay. And these days, we even try to manage light. Like for instance, when I'm going out, I switch off most of the things. Even when we are not using prepaid, we switch off most of the things. I train my kids to do that too. If we can get the light, of course we'll be paying. It's better to be on electricity than to run a generator.
Oh, that's the situation of Lagosians, and I like to think perhaps maybe across the country. Judith, you told me you had 20 hours.
Yes,
Lucky you. Wouldn't you ask back? Let me tell you how many I get a day. Come on.
How many do you get a day?
I get 2 hours. That's
well, if I never has lights.
That's even if I ever. Yeah, thanks for telling me where I live. Now they can stop.
Oh, but you've been saying this now.
That's even if I get power at all. So it's a. Feels like it's a place where people now we're resorting to alternatives.
Right.
And alternatives would mean solar power. So there's a lot of that going about the place. Now, considering the president's attempt, or I think it's still an intention to take the Aso Villa off grid, what are your takes on it? Because I've got mine, and I will tell you that.
Is it laudable? Yes, no questions asked. I mean, the move is showing from the top to the bottom that you are going for alternative source and cleaner energy. Yes, I give you a mark for that. 5 points for Gryffindor for wanting to do that. But I also want to see your car on CNG as well. I want to see I want to see less travel so you can reduce the carbon
Nigerian
emissions.
cars.
Nigerian like his cars. The entourage. I want to see it on CNG as well. The presidential entourage and all the cars. But I also want to see less travel as well for carbon emission. But here's my own qualms: 10 billion naira. 10 10 billion.
It is the presidency, and 10 billion when you convert to dollars is not really much anymore. So you have to account for all of that. The fact is 10 billion
Tongue in cheek, you're
would have
saying
been
this
different. Would have been about a third of that.
You're saying
a
this
year
tongue in
ago.
cheek.
No, I'm serious. About a year ago, 10 billion would be a third of that amount.
So let me, as in a way to, maybe it's me. Is Aso not the place he lives in?
Well, yes.
So you need 10 billion for your residence?
It is a huge, you haven't been to Aso Rock, it is humongous.
Yeah, I haven't. You know,
it is the presidency. I'm not defending his intention to take
you're
it
still
off.
10 billion.
The money, you're still stuck on that
Yes.
amount. It is.
All right, let's do the math, all right? How much is it for a plate? One of those things.
I don't know. We should get an expert in.
I know. So one of them costs like 700K, right?
Okay.
And it depends on how much how much power it's going. So I think you need about, if you're going to, what's a square root, right? So, but theirs is not a square root. Like you got a square root, you got a larger plate. A square root is like, if you're doing a larger, I look funny, don't I?
You seem like...
Yeah, so like that thing, when you're looking at a field of it, it's not up to 10 billion. If you're powering streets, or maybe the entire stretch of Third Mainland Bridge, yes, 10 billion. Even that, I'm going to look at you like... Also, were you not the one who was saying that you're going to reduce tax incentive on, renewable energy and, solar energy? Why is your own check different?
I wish I could answer these questions for the president, but unfortunately I cannot. Along with the fact that I am not an expert when it comes to renewable energy, so this is what I am proposing that we do here on Breakfast Energy. Breakfast Energy.
I love it.
Breakfast
I love it.
What we're going to do is we're going to get in. We must get in an expert who will come in and discuss for us the details about this 10 billion naira, the amount being proposed for this endeavor, and let's see if it fits. I believe that as the president and as his presidential residence, that it actually must have constant
you're killing me.
energy.
Don't do it. Come on.
Regarding the amount, however, that's subject to an expert's opinion. So let's reserve that for an expert.
10 billion. Look, okay, you know what? Hang on. Let's go do this thing. So 10, you see, but in dollars, it's too small. 10 billion times 1,600.
I can't do that math.
Exactly my point. What are you talking about?
Let it go.
Okay,
Judith, let it go. Let's let it go. We are definitely going to look into that more.
This thing that I can't leave this in my brain.
We will definitely look into that more and bring you guys the result. Perhaps maybe next week's show. I think this is something we have to take on as an assignment, you and I and our entire crew. But we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be starting with our very first conversation here for Breakfast Extra. Do stay tuned. We'll be back.
And you're welcome. Let's begin, shall we, with our very first big story for this morning. Now, according to an SBM Intelligence report, for West Africa's food crisis is deepening, with Nigeria and Ghana at the heart of it. In Nigeria, food inflation has surged dramatically, with the average cost of cooking a pot of jollof rice rising from 21,300 naira in September of 2024 to 25,486 naira by March of 2025. And that's about a nearly 20% increment in the cost of jollof rice for a pot. Now, major factors include insecurity in food-producing regions, skyrocketing transportation and energy costs, and market manipulation by traders. Protein particularly, that's turkey, one of my favorites, has seen a 500% price rise since 2016. And fuel and electricity prices have also ballooned. Now, meanwhile, Ghana's price remained persistently higher, with the cost of preparing jollof rice about 78.7% higher than Nigeria's, driven by the depreciation of the cedis and reliance on expensive imported food items. In Nigeria's regions, disparities are severe. Now, in Port Harcourt, south of Nigeria, it saw a 55.1% rise due to political instability. In Kano, northwest of Nigeria, it faced a 53.8% hike linked to farmer herder conflicts and flooding as well. And in Lagos, the commercial capital of Lagos, markets reported trader exploitation and transportation tools also inflated prices.
Now, Ghana's prices, despite some short-term dips, remain volatile, with persistent inflationary pressures linked to logistics costs and also macroeconomic instability. Both nations face the dual burdens of rising food insecurity and economic fragility, with millions of households struggling to afford even basic staple. Now, joining us to unpack this, we have with us from SBM, Irioluwa Oladipupo. You are welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. She's the copy editor and analyst at SBM Intelligence. Good to have you here. Thank you for giving us your Sunday again.
Thank you.
There's an in-house reason why I'm thanking you so profusely.
Thank you
indeed. Let's start by talking. First off, this takes the whole Jollof wars to a totally different dynamic here when it comes to Nigeria versus Ghana Jollof. But what are the most staggering findings when it comes to the food insecurity in both countries that you found out?
All right, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, just as you have read, in the preliminary stages. So one of the things we found out is there's a regional disparity in terms of food prices. So take, for instance, Nigeria has different geopolitical zones, right? And we found out that there are different issues driving up prices in different parts of the country. And one of the staggering, rise that was recorded in this last quarter was in South, Port Harcourt, for instance. So typically, SBM polls 13 different markets in Nigeria, 2 major markets in Ghana, and one of those markets in Port Harcourt, we saw a 55% increase, which was really wild and we saw that was linked to the political instability. There's been a recent...
You want to define these increases for us. Now, increase in what? This 55% increase you talk about is increase in what? Are you talking about the ingredients that make up a singular part of Jollof or what exactly?
Yeah, exactly. So when you look at the Jollof index, it's just a simple measure of food price inflation, taking specific key ingredients that makes up a pot of jollof rice.
Especially that jollof is
exactly
very
so talk simple. About the peppers, tomatoes, onions, rice, groundnut oil, and especially protein.
That protein one is turkey?
Yeah.
Turkey, no. I can't sleep. I'm sorry.
So the thing is, turkey is one of the basic things we use, right? But it's just a mirror of the protein affordability problem that we're going through in Nigeria. If you look at over the past, previous iterations of the Jollof Index, we found that protein cost has been rising dramatically. So even egg, as simple as egg, now a crate of egg goes for nothing less than almost 6,000 naira, depending on where you buy it from. So turkey is just a mirror of what protein is saying in the market today.
That's 500% increase since 2016.
Exactly.
So we understand what's driving our insecurity, our food insecurity here, which is insecurity itself. But what about Ghana? What exactly is driving their food insecurity up?
So we found that Ghana is import dependent, and in the past we've seen Ghana has been facing some bit of issues. We have their IMF issues and all of that. So the CD is gradually depreciating, and that depreciation impacts on the cost of especially rice. So because they are import reliant, the fact that their CD is depreciating fast against the dollar, it's bumping up the price of import. So this is really affecting the price of rice. So that's why we see, and again we saw that there's a lot of logistical challenges, and so all of those come together to kick up the price in Ghana.
You're talking about logistics, and I think we might as well just have that conversation because in your report we see that fuel cost and transportation costs and tolls as well contributed significantly to the inflation. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so let's take for instance, year on year, there's been an increase in fuel price. As at January 2024, petrol wasn't even going for as high as 700 naira. But today, between 900, bless Dangote, just reduced the price. But that's not really reflected in pump prices. Some petrol stations still sell as much as 900 naira per liter. So that has really affected the price of transport. And one very interesting thing we found is it seems drivers are really approaching the wait and see they're taking this wait and see caution. So even when there's an announcement that there's a reduction in fuel price, you are not really seeing that dovetail in the prices of, buses and all that. So bus fares have been constant for, if you use public transport, you would see that there's not really been that effect. So it's more like we're not certain what this is going to look like in the next few days. So let's just keep it. It's more like they're edging themselves against, uncertainty. So they're just approaching it with, let's just leave it the way it is. So that fuel price has really affected the cost of transport. And you would see that in the end, drivers they try to protect themselves. And let's bring it home. In Lagos, if you use public transport, you can tell that before you move from point A to point B, you would count. In fact, you will lose count of the number of local touts. We call them admirals.
Yeah. So that toll collectors.
Exactly. Word on the street is that those toll collectors are also having an effect on the prices of food, because people bringing in food, they know that, okay, once they get into Lagos, Lagos is no man's land. This particular admiral doesn't care that you have paid another admiral.
Move back to the
So they just want to take as much as they can from you. And this also affects, because you know that, when I get into Lagos, I'm not sure of how much I'm going to pay to admiral. It's not like it's a formal collection. So there's no fixed price. There's no fixed price. It depends on the goodwill or otherwise of the local tout. So the people bringing in food try to bump the prices as much as possible to edge themselves from losses, and all of this pass down to the consumers and impacts the prices of food.
Now, this is still the Nigerian context. This doesn't apply in the Ghanaian context, does it? Do they still have these kinds of issues like we do with the local touts?
So Ghana does not necessarily have that, but there's a lot of infrastructural issues which also combines. And so when you're looking at food prices and insecurity, it's always difficult to really separate the contributing factor. So there is a confluence of factors. So when you combine the fact that, the Ghana cedi is depreciating with the logistical issues, it just brings you to the kind of issues that we have today.
Logistics are very peculiar for Ghana. Let's talk about their cedi as well. It's been struggling, and we have seen it depreciate against the dollar. Same for Nigeria, but it seems like theirs is on a different dimension entirely. And so how has their central currency depreciation also spiraled the cost of food?
As I said earlier, when you're an import-dependent country, you can't really control prices because you are importing inflation from abroad. So if your currency is weak against the currency with which you bring in food, it's definitely going to tell on your currency at home. So that's the kind of situation we're seeing in Ghana.
And that's very worrying, I will say. And so what then is our short-term? What can there be? Can there be a short-term intervention? I mean, insecurity seems to be the monster that everyone can't seem to get rid of. What more of Agberu? Those ones are just the pesty pest. What's that symbiotic relationship parasites that you just can't get rid of? Is there very parasitic? So how then can we what's the short-term intervention how we can nip this in the bud, especially for my precious Toki?
Okay, so one of the things I would bring it home to Lagos is there needs to be a sort of food market monitoring, in the sense that on the street, our researchers found that there's this price gouging going on, especially in Lagos. Some traders are taking advantage of the market situation to increase prices excessively. So while we are not advocating for price control, because we know that that also has its own disadvantages, but there needs to be a sort of market monitoring whereby traders do not take advantage of the market situation to just bump prices excessively. And that market monitoring is also important in the sense that you get to K2 market, right? And you buy something for, say, 10 naira, you move to another market and just maybe less than how many kilometers, and the price is like ×3, and you are wondering, this cannot be only transport costs. These traders are definitely taking advantage of the situation. So that sort of market monitoring needs to, take place. Another thing that needs to happen is there needs to be an increase, targeted food aid. We saw that last year there was this initiative that the government took, releasing rice in certain places and all of that. So while some traders said, oh, they didn't have a feeling of that, some also reported that, okay, that kind of helped reduce. And also, there's been this, ease of import. There's this ease of import restriction. So if that can be worked on, we know that, okay, there can be that short-term relief for people. But unfortunately, we're beginning to see that short-term relief is erasing, because if you read the report, you would see that there was this decline in January, February. There was bumper harvest. I mean, tomatoes were, a lot more. Price of rice came down, but we see that we are not able to consolidate that again. So, storage is something that also needs to be worked on. So if Nigeria has enough storage capacity, we would not see a situation whereby we are having short-term gains. Those gains would be consolidated over a longer period of time. So that's why we see that January, February, there were some declines, but today prices are bumping up again. So that sort of, storage needs to be worked on. Market monitoring needs to also be worked on, and targeted food aid could also go a long way.
Targeted food aid, with the withdrawal of USAID, and then now with tariff wars that is on the horizon for us. I wonder what's at stake here, and the structural reforms that could happen, not just in Nigeria but also West Africa, but most importantly Ghana, that is very export dependent. Import independent.
So honestly, the outlook doesn't really look good, especially because of the
IMF didn't even help with the last
wars
meeting.
that we are beginning to see. While it may not, while we are still looking at, okay, will it come back because of the 90-day break? The outlook doesn't really look good, because it's definitely, going to affect Nigeria's exports, which will affect the amount of foreign exchange that we can have, right? And once you have less dollar coming in, there's more strain on the naira, and which will go back to impact, the day-to-day living. And this also goes to Ghana, because they are also import dependent. So maybe we can only hope that the 90-day break would be a total erasing of that tariff war.
While we're talking about suggestions for solutions, what about the Plant for Food scheme? I think is it Ghana now that are actually implementing that? Can we do the same here in Nigeria, and how would it help?
Insecurity.
Well, this time you're planting for food, so this means it's localized. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So is that going to help the situation?
Just as she has said, insecurity is a big factor, because Ghana has initiated this planting for food and jobs, right? But the effect has not really been seen, because you know that it takes a bit of time between policy implementation and then before the result. So if that's going to happen in Nigeria, then state governments really need to sit tight and work on insecurity, because if you have a situation whereby food-producing regions are under so much weight of insecurity, see what's going on in Plateau, see what's going on in Benue, the food basket of the country. So all those, the state government just needs to sit tight and work on this insecurity in their respective states. That's the only way where we can guarantee that, okay, that kind of support for planting can really work. Because again, we saw that there was this report SBM published, I think that was last year, where we saw that in food producing regions, bandits are taking levies from farmers, right? And so that also affects prices of food, because if you are a farmer, you will factor the levy you want to pay to bandits. And again, you are not even certain of your harvest, because if you are unlucky that is a different bandit set comes during harvest time. They don't care about the levy you paid when you were about to plant. So you are mandated to pay another one or even give out a portion of your harvest. So if we're going to have that kind of planting support in Nigeria, insecurity is a big factor that we must really need to tackle.
Well, Ilaria Olu, I think we have just summed it up and we know what the result, what the solution is. Yeah. Instead of going for planting for food and jobs, maybe we should recruit more in the army so we can provide security.
That's why when our mama was saying that we should plant at our backyards, urban. What was that initiative that she did? And she did that photo up in the Aso Villa. And with her small garden at the back and showing us our ugu. That thing was so insensitive. I don't know who did that thing, who told her. It was wrong. Because people had small gardens at their backyard and they were slaughtered. All right, that's all.
Well,
I gotta say.
Insecurity, let's get more boots on the ground.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's as much as we can take as we move on into the next hour. Thank you very much for being with us this morning, giving us a Sunday as we said from before.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
We've got more coming your way inside of Breakfast Extra. Do stay tuned. We'll be back in just a bit.
And welcome back. Yesterday, the world bid farewell to Pope Francis, and today we're still live in Rome. Our international correspondent, Afia Hagen, has been following the developments from yesterday, and she joins us live this morning. Afia, good morning to you, and well done so much from yesterday and today. Just take us through all the highlights from yesterday, and what's the latest with you this morning?
Good morning. So yes, I am here still in Rome. I'm at Santa Maria Maggiore. Now, this is the church where the Pope elected to be buried. That was because of his devotion to the Mother Mary, and that's what this church is all about. Santa Maria Maggiore, St. Mary Major in English. So this is in the center of Rome. And yesterday we saw a procession that took the Pope's body through the streets of Rome, around the Colosseum to this spot. And people have been queuing up since 4 a.m. this morning to be able to see the Pope's body. It has been laid in Santa Maria Maggiore with a simple white rose on his coffin and the inscription Franciscus also. So this is where all the focus is today, I guess, because this is the last resting place of the Pope. Today, Rome getting back to normal, much busier in certain parts, and it has been lots more cars on the road. Yesterday, lots of roads were closed, so it was a lot of walking, but today it's been much more accessible and getting back to normal. Cafes open, people out enjoying themselves in the spring weather. But yesterday, it was a much more hushed atmosphere across Rome. I think today, people are feeling a lot lighter about it now that they know that the Pope is being laid to rest. And like I say, this is where the focal point is today at St. Mary Major.
All right, Afia, many thanks. We will definitely come back to you during the course of the program for more updates. But Afia Hagen, international correspondent, live there from the resting ground, the Santa
Maria Major.
There we go. I struggle with that name. Anyway, let's switch gears now to politics, shall we?
Let's do that. Now, in a political development that has sent shockwaves through Delta State and beyond, sitting Governor Sheriff Oborevwori, former Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, and the entire leadership of the People's Democratic Party in Delta State have defected to the All Progressives Congress. The move includes current office holders, party executives, and grassroots mobilizers, signaling a sweeping shift in the state's political structure and also power dynamics. Now, announced following a high-level meeting in Asaba, the defection has been framed by its architects as a power, or rather a move towards political alignment for development and stability, they say. However, critics question the motivations behind the move, describing it as a betrayal of democratic ideals and ideological coherence. As political actors realign, many citizens are left wondering what this means for governance, accountability, and also opposition space in Delta State.
That's it. And so to unpack the motivations, methods, and implication of this high-stakes defection, we're joined by Dr. Fred Latimo Ogenesibe. He's a spokesperson for the Delta State government. Also joining us is Josiah Omenowoma. He's an organizer of the grassroots-driven Obedient movement in Delta State. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us. We appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And let me start with you, Mr. Fred Lattimore. I mean, as the official voice of the state government, can you walk us through the strategic and philosophical rationale behind this full-scale defection from the PDP to the APC? 20 years or more of the PDP being a stronghold for Delta, or rather Delta being a stronghold for the PDP, and now a full-scale movement to the APC.
It is quite ideal. It is something that the stakeholders and leaders of the party debated extensively, and we believe that it is time to make this move because of the protracted, disagreements in the party. You will also recall that in 2015, there was what they call the new PDP group that came up, and that group also created problems that enabled the All Progressive Congress at that time to take over power in 2015. And then in 2023, another group of 5 governors also came up with another issue. And the result of that group also was that we lost to the All Progressive Congress as at that time. And also, this crisis that is bedeviling PDP at the moment, you will recall that it started before the PDP presidential primaries. And then it snowballed into the elections. And we couldn't resolve those issues as at that time, and the PDP also lost in the presidential election. That matter is on ground, and it's been there for the past 3 years, unresolved. And this is 2025. We are about to enter another era of political election. And we have multifaceted court cases. We have issues at the national level that is yet unresolved. The governors tried, including the governor of Delta State, my boss, Right Honorable Sheriff Oborevwori. They came together, they did all they could do to make sure that this crisis is resolved. There was a meeting recently in Asaba. There was a meeting in Ibadan not too long ago. And all of these meetings couldn't yield any positive results because of the fact that some people at the national level refused to shift grounds. They stood their grounds. And in a political system where your personal interest or a tiny group personal interest is much more considered more important than the interest of the party, then it becomes very, very difficult to resolve issues. So where we find ourselves is that we have examined it. We discovered that 2027 election, we cannot afford to take that risk. And the entire party structure decided that the best thing to do is to join the All Progressive Congress, and we have joined the All Progressive Congress, and it's okay by us.
Well, we've got plenty of questions regarding that defection with the party leaders, but we'll be coming back to you on that. I want to come to Mr. Omenuwuma. Mr. Omenuwuma, you've championed movements driven by ideas and all, but I would like you to tell us what you think about the integrity of party politics in Delta State after this move, this defection, let's call it what it is.
Okay, thank you very much. For what it is, for what Deltans and Nigerians have seen about this defection, it's just a gang up by the PDP and APC against the citizens of Nigeria, against Deltas. It has further confirmed what some of us have been saying, that there's no difference between the PDP and the APC. They're just there for their personal gains and not for the interest of Nigerians. Their ideology, their manifesto not reflect the wills and the needs of Nigerians. It just show they are there to guide this decision. It has no good support. It's not in the interest. It's not in the interest of the growth of Nigerians, not in the interest of the welfare and security of Nigerians. You can't say that you are doing good and you want to join what the APC is doing. Because APC has no good to show under the administration of Tinubu, even from Buhari's side. It has been rise from insecurity, to inflation and hardship. It tells on us every day. Nigerians complain and lament every day. So what is the PDP joining the APC for, if not against the people, if not against the interest of Nigerians? It is clear.
Mr. Omenwuma, are you still there with us, or is that the conclusion to your statement? I think the network has gone out on his connection. We'll try and regain connection with him. But coming back to our previous guest, Mr. Ogenesibe. Mr. Ogenesibe, now regarding the topic on interest, whose interest exactly, like our guest has just told us? Is it the interest of the people that there has been this very unprecedented shift, especially noting that this is coming from a stronghold for the PDP, or a government that used to be, at least for the PDP? Whose interest are we talking about here then?
What we are talking about here is the interest of the good people of Delta State. You cannot achieve much when you have crisis. Imagine a marriage, a husband and wife living together, and all the time it's issues, fighting, quarreling, calling names, dragging themselves to court. What kind of marriage would that be? Marriage is supposed to be enjoyed. Political parties like a marriage, a coming together of several number of persons from different backgrounds, joined together by the ideals of the party, by the manifesto of the party, by the what they intend to give to the people as a party when they are in power. It's becoming, a recurring decimal in PDP that a group of persons will always form alliance to disrupt the party. I just gave you a history of how it started in 2015, from 2015 to 2019, from 2019 to 2023, the same thing happening all the time in the party. And people don't like to shift grounds. When they talk about their personal interest in politics, they don't even look at the larger, take of the people, of the best interest of the party is not considered. Now we are in a crisis. We are trying to resolve the issues. 3 years is gone.
Okay.
But some persons are saying, no, I won't shift ground. It's either me or nothing. So there is nobody that will begin to, bear that kind of situation.
Mr. Ogenesibe, please, may I ask what your position is on the current state of things inside of Rivers State? I would like to ask that question first before moving on to my next question, noting the state of emergency that the state is under currently. What is your stance on that?
As far as we are concerned, this is a matter that Mr. President has taken a decision already. And I'm sure that the National Assembly sanctioned it. We all know that the National Assembly gave him a go-ahead to do so. And the National Assembly is a collection of people representing this country from the sixth geopolitical zone. So we better leave that matter out of this discussion and let those who have been saddled with that responsibility to take care of that. But for me, we are in a democracy. And in a democracy, we are supposed to govern our people and deliver dividends of democracy. And that is what we do in Delta. That is what the governor of Delta State has focused on, headlong.
The reason why I asked that question is based exactly on what you have just said, that we are in a democracy. Now, if you talk about the fact that there have been people inside the PDP that are disrupting the party, well, the situation can be comparable to what's happening inside of Rivers State. And that's why I asked that question, because there have been interference from people in the PDP, or rather the APC, inside of the situations in Rivers State. Now, it's not just the PDP then. It also dovetails into the APC, is my point. However, I'm going to let my co-host here also engage our guest that we have here, so it's not just you and I talking.
Let me come to our other guest, Mr. Omenwuma, and just ask you, Mr. Ogenesibe says that the defection by almost all of the leaders in Delta State government, from top to bottom, and even the former governor, was not in the interest of the party, but for the interest of the people of Delta State. Do you agree?
I don't.
Why?
It's not even in the interest of, I don't agree. It's not even in the interest of the party. It's in their own interest. In their bid. You know, when someone communicates to you, it's not about what he's telling you. You also try to listen to what he's not saying. They've told us why they're defected, but will not tell us, certain things will not tell us. You know, I would like to ask them, after this defection, will EFCC still invite the former governor for the 1.3 trillion naira alleged allegation? They have not tell us the true reason why they're defecting. It's all personal and all political. It's not the interest of Nigeria in any way. It's not the interest of the people of Nigeria in any way. It's not in the interest of Deltas in any way. Just like he rightly said, he said the PDP have not been able to organize themselves for these years. And some of those persons in the previous years moved to the APC, which led to the victory of the APC in subsequent, in previous elections. They are not going to join those same people. We then not see the disruptions. They are not able to organize themselves as a party, the PDP in Delta. How are you sure that they organize themselves as a party in APC? These same people who could not organize themselves are not going to join a party who has done Nigerians so good, who has only increased the sufferings, the pains of Nigerians. Just a few years ago, we were buying fuel less than 200 naira. The APC have made it unbearable for the average Nigerian to live well. Practically, Nigerians are living in hell while in Nigeria. People falsely say that when during the rapture, if Nigerians go to hell, they won't have to suffer there again because they already passed through it here in Nigeria. And now you are going to join those people. How can you say you mean well for me and you have to go and join somebody who has been plotting and planning to kill me on this path? Can you call yourself my friend? That's the question I put before you.
All right. Mr. Oganashibi, I'm going to have you answer that last rhetorical question that he asked about, you know, whether or not it's the interest for him. Why would you go join a camp that the sole intention is to kill him? But more importantly, you keep saying, both of your earlier submissions was about the inner squabbles or the inner issues going on with the PDP, citing that as a reason for the defection. Now, in the case of the former governor, Ifeanyi Okowa, who was the presidential candidate, or rather the vice presidential candidate for the PDP during the last election, presidential election of 2023, was there not issue then that he was able to run under that platform, cinch the ticket to be the candidate, and then go run on a national level? Why was there no issue there for him? Same goes for Governor Sheriff Oborevwori. He cinched the ticket, won the party, and just 2 years, barely 2 years into his administration, he's now having issues with the party. Same for the local government leaders. They got the tickets, went in primary level, got the ticket. The PDP, the party, saw them deem fit to give them those tickets, and the people believed in their mandate to vote for them in. Why was there no issue then?
We cannot compare that time to where we are now.
Yeah, but you were citing issues from
where we are now is a different ball game altogether.
Why is it a different ball game altogether?
That political history for you to know how a party has been going from one crisis to another. I just gave you that analogy. But after the presidential election up till now, the issues that occurred during the presidential election in the party has not been resolved. You are following. You saw the cases that are going on. From the acting national president to the party secretary issue and all of that. And you know that those issues are very critical issues. Every state in the federation, if a party nominates candidates for governorship and National Assembly election, you will have to submit those forms to INEC through the national office in Abuja. And the way the party is today, if the issues linger till 2027, who will be the right officer of the party to submit those credentials, those papers to INEC for election? You will recall what happened in Zamfara State, where all the elected representatives were shoved aside by the court. And that is a dangerous situation. In politics, yes, excuse me. Sorry. In politics, yes, you can take some risk, but there are some risks that are not necessary. And those risks that are not necessary, you have to avoid them. Because we cannot go into an election, labor to return to come and serve our people better the way we are doing now, and then at the end of the day somebody goes to court and the court says that, oh, the person, the party official that submitted, that signed the documents that you sent to INEC, that is not the right person that would have signed the documents, and therefore the election, the results of those elections, those candidates who won illegitimate. We won't wait for that time to happen. We will need to do a proper homework. If you remember, Senator Just Manager, while he was addressing the press, made mention of these issues, that we disagreed and agreed, and that we had to look at all the gray areas. We looked at the future. We looked at what is happening in the party, and all the leaders, the stakeholders of the party across its 3 senatorial districts decided that the best way to go is to move on. And to move on, we needed a platform. And the right platform for us, after assessing all of that platform, is the APC. And here we are in APC, and we are very satisfied that we're in APC.
Mr. Ogunesibi, it sounds to me more like personal interest and blindsiding your constituency. And it's more about winning an election as opposed to, the interests of the party. If Delta State has been a power hold for the PDP for the last 20 years, that means that the leaders in that state are bigwigs in the party, and so they are pressure points for the party. Where was this foresight in 2023 that we're seeing it now, barely 2 years after an election had been won? Where was that foresight? And to my question besides that is that earlier during a televised interview, Pabode George, who's a chieftain of the PDP, has said that the APC doesn't have any structure. So if you keep pointing at structure of the PDP, does the APC have structure? Who is the national chairman of the APC? I'm not asking about the acting chairman, the national chairman and the secretary of the APC.
Well, you see, you don't talk about personal interest in a matter that is this massive. In my personal interest is when, a group of persons, maybe 1 or 2, 3 or 4 party bigwigs and their supporters defect to another political party. Maybe for them to go and take a ticket to run. That is when you talk about personal interest. In this regard, you can't say it's a personal interest, because it was holistic, all right? Even people who are not running for the election in 2027, they all agree that that is the best way to go. So you cannot put personal interest in this matter. What concerns us is how we can, how we can deliver dividend of democracy to the good people of Delta State, how we can improve on our infrastructure. And we believe that the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President, if we add that to the more agenda of the governor, then we will make significant progress in Delta. That is the interest. And also you know that as far as Delta is concerned, we have governed well. Our governor won the best governor of the year. He also won the best governor on infrastructure. He also won the best governor on good governance. So the issue of personal interest does not arise here. Because if our governor go to election anytime, any day, he will defeat anybody. He will win landslide. So it is not a personal interest for anybody. We are looking at Delta as a whole, and we are looking at the economic benefits that this arrangement will bring to our people and deliver more infrastructure development and in all sectors of the state economy to Delta. That is our interest. We are now the 4th largest economy in the country. You know that our governor has not taken 1 penny from any bank anywhere in the world. He has been managing the resources of the state the way it is. And we are making fantastic progress. So it's not a matter of personal interest. We are not under-governing. The governor is not under-performing. He's the best governor in the country. So when you say the issue of personal interest, that would be alluded to those who are not performing. That would be alluded to those who don't have a future for 2027 election. Our governor has done well. He has performed creditably well. And our decision is firm that we need more of such development to advance Delta beyond 2027. And we know that with the renewed hope agenda, Mr. President, coupled with the more agenda of our governor, we will go far. That is our stand.
All right, Mr. Oganehuma, let me ask regarding opposition in Delta State. Well, people are saying that there is no opposition, whether it's the PDP or the APC, it's all same. What about the other parties? What about the LP? What is being done for the sake of the people, in the interest of the people, by these other parties as we look toward 2027 elections?
Very much. There is opposition. Like I earlier said, the defection of the PDP to APC just confirmed what we've been saying, that they are both same, and it's a gang up against the people. The opposition in Delta State are the people. You will recall that in 2023, the former governor was vice presidential candidate of the PDP, and the people, the obedient, won. The opposition in Delta, the opposition in Nigeria is the obedient movement. We are much alike. The obedience are everywhere. The normal, average Nigerians, Deltans in the streets are the opposition. I would like to go to just confirm what my colleague here, senior, said. He has just explained to us that the PDP are not capable to managing themselves. That's why themselves going to the APC now. I would like to ask you, when you say you have internal crisis in your party to fight here and there, don't the party have a constitution to govern the party? Why going to court and or cases? The court not give judgment. Are there no rules and regulations to the party? Is there no constitution that guide the party? For opposition, I want to charge all Deltans, well-meaning Deltans, the average Deltans in the streets, that it's hard time they rise up. It's hard time they wake up to join the obedient movement. Because what they're trying to do is to keep democracy. You can't give anybody absolute power. Nobody deserves limited power because they will abuse it one way or the other. Democracy without opposition is just a way to twist the will of the people. And we Deltans, the average Deltans in the street, do not take it. In 2023, we showed it. Peter Obi, without any governor, got over 6 million votes. We won Delta State in the grand slide, even when the current governor, who was the candidate of the PDP, was still on seat. We won. That shows that Delta does not belong to any party, the way they were claiming it before. What happened to that slogan of Delta is PDP, PDP is Delta, Delta no be Lagos? Now, Delta is now automatically Lagos overnight. What happened to the when they were criticizing the Bola Ahmed Tinubu, say Baba the Sheikh and Baba the Fall? What happened to all of that now? Now they are going back to eat their own vomit after saying all of this. He cannot claim and say that the governor is the best. What is the essence of governance? Two measures, the welfare and security of the people. It will surprise you the rate of kidnapping in Delta states as it is now. Very close to Asaba, we have Ubuluku, on Ushigbo, where kidnappings have been rampant. It will surprise you also. It will not be surprising, though, that immediately the Delta State governor and his executive, these people are now defecting to the APC, which I must say that it's because of personal reasons and to win the elections, and to also cover some of their hidden doings. Going in the words of the former governor of the state, currently a senator Adam Salih Oshomole, who said, immediately you join the APC, your sins are forgiven. I feel they are sins that they have some sins that they want the APC to forgive them, so they need to go there for the sins to be forgiven. While patiently to see the FCC, we invite the former governor Okowa again on the allegation of 1.3 trillion. If he doesn't, that will confirm that actually their sins have been forgiven. The kidnapping, the banditry, the killing of people in their farms using cows to eat from. There are lots of videos to show from Delta North to Delta South to Delta Central. We were around there where you see Fulani taking their cattle to the farm to eat people's crop, where people were kidnapped and be slaughtered and be killed. How can you say you want to support the APC to develop and promote the interests of Deltas, where average Deltas, average Nigerians are not traveling the roads to Abuja without the fear of kidnapping, when the roads are packed? How can you say that the government extremely well? I will not be asking, why are there kidnappings in the state? What has it been doing with security votes? What are the security measures put in place? 2 SSAs to the governor, named Harrison, Gamushi, and this other person. They declined they resigned their position following this defection. You can check it and verify. And the explanation was ponder on that the government paid deaf ears on the matter of security. The government does not listen. The current governor does not do anything to improve security of the lives of Deltans. That Deltans have to secure themselves the way it is. So there is nothing to show that Deltans are happy with what is happening today. And the opposition, I must tell you, Delta State, are the people of Deltas.
All right.
And I also want to tell you that members of political party, if Delta State is to put in a scale of 100, members of political party are not more than people are together, are not more than 30% of Delta State. The rest 70% will not support the Tinubu re-election because there is nothing whatsoever. They will also vote the appointees, the elected ones. They will always go with the way. But with Delta, the obedient movement is much alike. That's the only opposition we have in the country. That's the hope of the common man in the country. So I urge every Nigerian, every Delta to join the movement. Let's rescue our country.
I must say thank you. I mean, before we end this conversation very quickly, there's Mazino is also an indigene indigene of Delta State as well. Mazino, are you happy with the defection?
Well, it is surprising.
Is it for your interest?
It is surprising, to say the least.
Is it in your interest?
I would not like to give my personal...
I'm asking as a resident, as an indigene.
As an indigene,
is it in your interest?
It's a big surprise. I wouldn't share my leanings here.
All right, well, gentlemen, I must say thank you for taking out the time to join us. Thank you to you, Dr. Fred Latimo, Ogenesibi. He is a spokesperson for the government. And also joining us was Josiah Omeno Woma. He is one of the organizers for the obedient movement in Delta State. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. Again, let's all remember that the dividends of governance is all that we care about. We should leave party politics to the side and focus on Nigeria, especially at this uncertain times. Gentlemen, thank you. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, it's time for us to bring you health. And this time, we are tackling a Nigerian growing health crisis, and that's obesity, or better yet, Orobo. After the break, stay with us. And welcome back. It's time for us to get into Wellness Central. It's your weekend stop for conversations that keep you informed, healthy, and thriving. And so today we're shining a light on a growing but often overlooked health crisis, obesity. Once seen as a problem mostly in Western countries, Nigeria is now witnessing a worrying rise in obesity rates, especially in urban areas. With lifestyle changes, diet, and even misinformation playing a role, what does this mean for our future health?
Joining us to break it down and also offer expert advice is a medical doctor and also public health advocate, Dr. Yusuf Haroun, founder Love for Health organization. Dr. Yusuf, you're welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Thought we lost you there for a moment, but yeah, good to have you back.
I thought you went on an expedition.
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Let's first start with the stats when it comes to Nigeria and obesity. It's something that we hear when it comes to the Western world, especially America. They're battling it. Nigeria is now battling it. But how could we be battling obesity in this Tinubu economics?
Tinubu.
Yeah, it comes with its own theme music.
Yeah, there.
Right. That's quite intriguing. You'll be surprised or shocked to know that the rate of obesity and overweight is increasing as poverty is also increasing. It's surprising that people are even getting more obese now than even before. And the question is still puzzling to many of us, that what is really causing obesity? We thought it was affluence, we thought it was having a high standard of living, but no. Poverty can also lead to obesity. And there are some factors that also lead to it. Some of it includes even poor diet, sedentary lifestyle, lack of sleep, and many other things that could cause obesity. So the Western world also have a higher rate of obesity, but the country that has the highest overall is Tonga. It's another country, it's not the West.
Tonga?
Yes.
Okay, I know Tonga.
Yes.
What's responsible for their...
Yes.
I think this is genetics, isn't it?
Exactly. Genetics has a... In fact, I think you can just continue.
Why don't you?
No, you did it well.
Really lost.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah.
So Asia have a higher body fat.
Oh.
than all over the world. And apart from Asia, some countries, some other countries, Hispanics and some other parts have. Blacks generally have a lower body fat. Men generally have a lower body fat, definitely because of women's constitution. They have fats more deposited in some parts of their body. So there is still this question of women being more obese than men, whites a bit being more obese, but lifestyle also plays a longer role. I'll give you a quick shot about this. Even though the Asians, the Hispanics or the whites tend to have more body fat, generally black Americans are more obese. That means that the whites who have more body fat are working on it. So that's why life modification and diet control can affect your physical appearance. It could make you either obese or it could make you in the right shape.
You said something about diet. I'm very curious about that. We're going to go back to Tonga and their obesity relating to genetics. But for diet now, as we get poorer in Nigeria, to use your quote, as we get poorer in Nigeria, this has to do with the kind of foods that we resort to in our poverty. And one of those is, we just talked about jollof rice this morning. Rice is a big part of that. Am I on track here when I say
Absolutely.
that perhaps that is
yes.
It's not like I said the rice is cheaper itself, but it's the one thing that, you know, any common person, if not rice, then go and make gari or soaked gari.
You've even said what I wanted to talk about. Surprisingly, sugar, starchy foods, gari, rice, cassava, all these things we consume a lot, and it could be stored in the body. Prehistoric times, humans usually eat and walk. So we just hunt for food. But now we have our fridge and we store lots of food. Most especially not balanced diets like rice, only starch, cassava, gari, fufu, which many people take. Also sugar, high sugar intake, refined sugar. All these things could result into storage of fat in the body, and you see somebody being obese. Now, for you to know if somebody is obese, there are criteria. There's something called body mass index, BMI. When it is less than 18.5%, the person is underweight. Many Nigerians don't fall in this category. Very few Nigerians fall.
How's that arrived at, BMI?
Thank you. Now, it is called weight over height square. For example, if you check someone's weight, let's say someone is weighing 50 kilograms, and the person is 5 feet tall. So you are going to do the weight, 50 kilograms, all over the height in meters. So that is going to be kilogram per meter square. Or if you want to measure in pounds, if in the US, it is pounds per meter square. So it's usually 18.5. The normal is 18.5 to 24.5.
And anything outside that?
24.9, yes. If it is less than 18.5, the person is underweight and the person is malnourished. Ironically, more people are overweight, and because they are storing more of this starchy food, sugar, and all these things. Now, if it is between 24.9 or 25 to 30 or 29.9, the person is overweight. If it's above 30, the person is obese.
What I find interesting is the common misconception that overeating causes obesity, but sometimes there are underlying, causes, aren't there? And what are those?
Okay, now, overeating doesn't necessarily cause someone to be obese, especially if the person is exercising or the person is active. That's why the bodybuilders, the athletics, even the female wrestlers or those who are running, they tend to eat more and they burn more. So overeating without working out or without any physical activity can result into obesity. But if you are also exercising regularly, running average of 150 minutes per week, if it's active, if it's inactive, it could be more. So overeating primarily doesn't cause obesity, but sedentary lifestyle, poor diet, and also poor habits. I may have to go back also, alcohol, smoking, and all other things also can be risk factors. Age is also another factor. Advanced age, as we grow older, we tend to become obese because we are reducing in our activities.
Bringing it back home to the Nigerian context now, and as we look for solutions, what must Nigerians know when it comes to their habits, eating habits, or anti-sedentary habits? What should they do to ward against obesity?
I'm going to compare Nigeria to India. India is a country where many of them are also obese, and they also have high population. Like Nigeria, one of the major factors is that we should maintain balanced diet. So in India now, many of them, particularly the Hindus, don't eat enough proteins. Cow, example, they take just starchy foods. So Nigerians, we should balance our diet, take more proteins, and also fruits, vegetables. Number 2 is that we should exercise more. Number 3, we should avoid sedentary lifestyle. We should also avoid stress. I know that the economy is hard, but stress is also a psychosomatic effect on our body. If we are stressed out, if we are going through lots of things, it could also result into obesity. And we should avoid risk factors that can harm us, like alcohol, excessive alcohol intake, smoking, marijuana.
It's easy to say, Judith, I don't know if you agree with me when it comes to diets in Nigeria, to say, okay, you have to watch what you eat, the starchy food, but what are the alternatives? Especially in Nigeria here, especially in Lagos here, where there is no power. You cannot store most of the things that you might need for a healthy meal. There's really, there's no option apart from starchy foods.
To be honest with you, before a society or a country can have good health index, the government have to play a role. And I'll give a classical example. The US has the highest obesity among the developed countries, and it's because their government imports lots of junks and sugary things and fat. Then you have another country in Europe where their people are healthy. It's because the government also has policies to provide good food, they exercise. There are some developed countries that they mandate people to walk. There is no car around the area. So you have to walk and you have to burn energy. You have to ride bicycles.
Not in this our son. Not in this our son.
Judith is privy to a conversation that just happened inside of our ears, and I'm going to call out the producers. They have just they called me out. They actually just yabbed me, and they said I should be ashamed of myself being a Delta boy, knowing that my state alone has over 240 different kinds of soups. Yes, Matthew, we do have that many soups.
But that also means you have to swallow starch.
Exactly. What else do you swallow? And our swallow is always what? Semo, gari, amala. It's all starch. Even starch itself, we consume it raw.
That's
and I mean, we even call it, we don't call it any other name. We call it starch.
Starch. Literally, so, it's carb in every form.
Matthew. Please, you want to help me here?
Yes,
I mean, am I correct?
True. You're right. Most of these things are carbs, and they would also be stored in the body, energy, fats, and it could also result into obesity. So balanced diet is not something we just say verbally. But I'm happy also in Nigeria there are many exercise centers, high fitness centers, gym. People are getting to realize the importance of body fitness, and some people even do it at home. So obesity is literally weight over height. So it depends on your height and your weight.
I'm glad you're saying this, right? So because BMI is a very tricky thing, right? Your body mass index, a very, very tricky thing. So that means, and I remember it was 2 years ago when I was doing my, my body thing, and they literally said, you're obese. And I said, excuse me.
Do you remember the figure you were giving?
I don't remember that. I can't remember. I think it was.
Weight. Are you sure?
So which
ones think you are obese?
No, but my BMI was not good.
No, maybe overweight.
Overweight. Yeah, there we go.
Obese
so and that's where hang on.
30.
And that's what I'm going through, right? So it was over 30, and we're trying to get it to below 30, right? So which I did. So I was building mass, I was building body mass, started working out. So I think I'm now at 31 because again, stress from work. But on some good days I can be at 28, but I lose weight and I shrink, and I don't like how I look when I shrink, right? So I like that 31 mark.
We don't like it too.
Weirdo. 31 mark. So I have to ask you, right? So let's differentiate that, right? Because when people think obese, they're thinking very big, like massive, like the homie's big, but then overweight where when you look at your BMI, they be like, you're getting closer to that mark, we need to leave you. Because there are certain numbers for men that is healthy and certain numbers for women that is healthy. I want you to explain that.
Now, what you said is very important because there are some African researchers that have disagreed with this BMI. They say, I find the white
standard.
Yes, maybe their own women have a size, I don't know what they call it.
Yeah, I will shrink like this when I'm 28.
And they call that, they said, no, they can't compare that with African women. African women actually have wider hips.
I know, that's right.
Their weight may be, their fat is usually more
Yeah, stored around our
exactly
lower
in the
region.
hips, the buttocks, the breast. So you can't compare the Western. So this thing is subjective, is relative, and depends on each race. So you're right, but ideally, because of the Western classification, they say BMI above 30 is obese. But some African researchers have disagreed with them and said, no, you can't use the BMI, or you can't use the standard of the West to compare those of Africa.
Yeah.
I also want to mention complications of obesity or overweight before we end the show. One of the major complications is cardiovascular diseases, heart failure, hypertension, heart attack. Another one is diabetes, high blood sugar. Other ones also include, you can have, someone even have sudden death. There's something called syndrome X. Some people just develop sudden death. Somebody just slumped and died.
Yeah.
It could be due to complications of obesity. So there are many other things that could result in this thing. So it's good that we have an active life. It's good that we eat well, and we avoid major risk factors that could be deleterious to our health.
I would say buy a bicycle and ride every morning or late in the evening.
There
And
are even
also,
static bicycles. You can sit on it and
yeah,
ride.
and run as well. I noticed that the cycling community have shrunk repeated, like over the years. Back in 2018, if you see those, they were in mass, and then it's shrinking.
There's a simple reason. There is that, and then there's security. There was one individual who got murdered.
I remember.
Was it Yaba?
It was
a couple of years
There was
back.
one in Bagada. There was one in Kui.
Yeah, I think that's the one. So that really affected people's desire to want to go out there, and it's. My wife got robbed while running one time. So these are the things that affect people. She still suffers from that trauma, and she wouldn't go out. Even with me, she was like, no, I'd rather just stay home. So there's a lot to think about. If there was a pill we could just swallow, I think that would just sort everything. But unfortunately,
some actors, celebrities use Ozempic.
Yeah, Ozempic and Mounjaro.
Yeah, but it also has its risk factors. Some people have now associated it with later stage of cancer in women, ovarian cancer, cervical cancer, things like this. So all these drugs also have long-term side effects. But short-term, yes, they get the fine shape they want, they lose weight. But in the long term, it could cause some deleterious effects.
Dr. Yusuf, thank you very much for always being on hand to give us expert advice when it comes to our health, and especially this time on obesity, which is very timely. Yes, while your pockets might be slimmer, you might not necessarily be getting slimmer yourself. You want to watch what you eat, especially those starchy foods, so that you could at least remain healthy for some, let's go out there and get them. Do stay tuned. It's almost time for our final hour here for the weekend. We've got more conversation coming your way inside of Breakfast Extra. Well, good morning again and welcome to the headlines. My name is Mazino Appeal. We begin in Abia State, where the Abia State Governor Alex Oti has dismissed reports suggesting that he is planning to defect to the All Progressives Congress from the Labour Party. In a statement issued by his Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Ferdinand Okioma, the governor clarified that he neither held any meeting with the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodimma, nor discussed plans to join the APC. He explained that following the National Economic Council meeting on Thursday, 24th of April, Governor Oti, alongside a few of his colleagues, had attended the birthday celebration of Governor Uzodimma's twin daughters, a purely social event unconnected to politics. And in more news, a group of concerned Lagos residents under the banner of Tenant Watch Lagos have staged a protest to express their grievances over the soaring cost of house rents and the unchecked activities of uncertified real estate agents, commonly referred to as agents. The demonstrators marched from Ikeja to the Lagos State House of Assembly to formally present their demands. They called on Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and the Lagos State House of Assembly to urgently intervene by regulating house rents and curbing the operations of illegal and unlicensed real estate practitioners across the state.
The
Because the rate that all these agents are increasing all this house rent, house agreement and commission is getting out of hand. When house is 800,000, agreement and commission must be 40-40, which is 80,000.
The commission agreement of 18 had several experiences, to talk about it. It's alarming, it's killing people. Everything is not about government, and individual thing now, the way I see it. So it actually happened to me too. I wanted to get an apartment at Jojo Elegba, the apartment 2-bedroom flat with 3 toilets, quite nice. It's going for ₦1 million. Then the agent in charge told me agreement and commission damages ₦1 million. Total package of ₦2 million. That's killing. That is not it at all.
When you come to my estate, in our Soaring estate, that's where I live. So our own ESCO member invite agents for our estate. They have meeting with them, collaborate with them, calling house owners to increase their rents. Like my owners from ₦2 million to ₦3 million right now, from 2M to ₦3 million.
There's difference between agents and the rector. You understand? It's this agent that we don't want. I know director is an occupation, you are trained for it, and you are certified, and you have your office. But funny enough, most of these guys, now them be director, but now they go to employ agents, make them they help them, they do nonsense. So it's the agents we don't want. We don't want agents.
Now on security, tragedy struck Nigeria's northwestern state of Zamfara, where gunmen have launched a deadly raid on an artisanal gold mining site, leaving at least 19 people dead. The attack occurred when armed bandits stormed the site, killing 19 individuals, including 5 vigilantes who had been providing security for the miners. A mining official, Yahaya Gobirawa, confirmed that 14 miners were killed instantly, while others later died from their injuries due to severe bleeding. The violence forms part of a wider pattern of attacks across Zamfara and neighboring states, where criminal gangs, known locally as bandits, have continued to terrorize communities. And the federal government says it is commencing efforts aimed at empowering young Nigerians with the launch of a new Teenage Talents Hunt initiative. The Minister of Youth Development, Ayodele Olawande, made this known during the official flag-off ceremony of the program in Abuja, saying that the initiative will engage teenagers from across the country, helping drive content development, talent scouting, and nationwide outreach, with a strong focus on inclusivity and broad participation.
This partnership represents our commitment to empower the young people with and engage them by creating platforms that discover and grow their talents. The initiative agrees with our visions to engage young people in meaningful and impactful way. I am therefore happy to tell you that we are doing this to create a meaningful and a reality show that respects our value and culture as a country.
A program designed to assess the intelligent quotient, emotional quotient, and social quotient of our teenagers that are in SS3 and those yet to be admitted into the university. They will be engaging in quiz competition, essay writing, poetry, cookout show, cooking Nigerian delicacies, cultural dance, beauty pageantry, showcasing the diverse cultures of Nigerians.
And that's all the headlines this hour. Thank you very much for joining us for that. We're still inside of the thick of things for Breakfast Extra, and we've got other conversations coming up. Coming up, tech versus theft, protecting African creators in a digital age. We'll be back to have that conversation inside of Breakfast Extra. Stay tuned.
And you're welcome back. Now, in today's digital-first world, African creators, whether they're musicians or artists, writers or innovators, they are taking the global stage by storm. But with the massive opportunities that technology brings, there's also a big threat, and that is theft. From content piracy to unauthorized use of creative work, protecting original ideas has become one of the greatest challenges of our time. So how can technology itself help safeguard the future of African Creative.
Today on our extra special, we're diving into tech versus theft. And joining me, us to unpack it, is Barbara Okafor, digital media strategist, who's helping creators defend and thrive in the digital space. Welcome. And we also have Mr. Adeyemo here with us, who is himself a copyright expert, lawyer and expert. You're welcome, Mr. Adeyemo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.
For joining us.
Yes, Judith, I'll let you begin.
Let me get started with you, Ms. Okafor, and just start with the basics. In which ways or what ways are African creators most vulnerable to digital theft in today's world and today's days of ETFs and what's the other one?
PTFs, or I can't remember what it's called.
There's one now.
Go ahead, Barbara.
Okay, so as you rightly put in the beginning, so tech is an enabler and in a good way. So gone are the days where creators need like an agency or someone to be a middleman to get them to, you know, have work opportunities globally or have their work recognized globally. But the same way they have these opportunities are the same way that it comes with a magnitude of responsibilities of protecting, you know, their copyright and their work. The thing about it is that our work, our creative work goes viral quicker than our laws are there to protect the work we have. And the issue with that is that imagine traveling without a passport. So people are going to see you at the airport, people are going to meet you, but if there's no way to identify that this is Barbara Okafor, this is who you are, it would be hard to know the person behind that travel. So it's the same thing with content where you go viral and we cannot count how many trends or how many things go viral and you don't know who originated that trend or you don't know who started it. So that is the kind of vulnerability that creators have in this our digital age where things travel faster than you can even imagine. So if you are not proactively copywriting these things and meta tagging them, which we'll go into, I'm sure, later, you are going to have some of your work not protected or some of your work claimed by people who did not originate it, or even have the risk of never getting the accolades or opportunities that you might have gotten if people know you were the originator of that content. So this is the major threat we have within the digital space when it comes to intellectual property and copyright issues.
I'm glad that you took that from a digital angle, but I'm going to come back and take it from a brick and mortar more perspective, if that's an excuse to put it that way. But Mr. Adeyemo here with us in the studio is a copyright lawyer, and first of all, it's a very rare thing to see copyright lawyers. You guys are not all over the place, but tell us how far copyright goes when it comes to digital content, digital ownership, digital intellect here in Nigeria. Are there actual laws guiding it?
Okay, currently there's no actual law guiding like digital space, because the fact that, you know, like things are changing. Before it used to be traditional means of creating. People, all these creatives usually just engage in their creative process and they distribute it traditionally. But with the advent of digital space, of course, we are going to like start like getting to like see the advent of new laws and all, especially with the advent of AI now, which everyone is still trying to like fight with. And just like Barbara mentioned, it's like a progress. It's a work in progress, right? So the fact that creatives are like still creating means that there will be there's already a surge with respect to the way digital space is affecting the ecosystem. So I believe that just like within few couple number of months or years, we are going to like have our own laws that's going to like also guide the digital space with respect to copyright and intellectual property.
That's healthy to hear. But I still want to know how healthy copyright laws are when it comes to music or movies or films. How healthy is it in Nigeria currently? Because as we move into a digital space, I'd like to be very confident that, they've got that handle when it comes to music and all the rest kinds of expressions, and digital shouldn't be a problem.
All right, so you as a creative, because you've created a particular work, you automatically have the absolute ownership to that particular work, and that is, you don't even have to like go ahead to like copyright it officially with the copyright, the Nigerian Commission, Copyright Commission. before you have absolute or open ownership to that particular work. However, with the advent of digital space, because like our works are going across borders, so there's a kind of glitch with respect to how it is very easy, it is very vulnerable for like intellectual properties to be infringed on, right? So, but I believe there are like conventions that seeks to protect all that, like the Benin Convention, which seeks to protect that. Okay, with respect to like different countries that are subscribed to this particular convention, any work that is copyrighted or that is created in a particular member state is going to be protected in all the other states. So you as a creative, the moment you create a work, you are already protected. That particular work is already protected. You have the absolute ownership and you can claim it anywhere in the world.
An ever-changing world we're living in, Barbara, and it's fast evolving with technology and new trends and just the way we are consuming data so much. And what has happened is, as much as we have shrunk as a global village, it's also expanded in a number of things. And so there are still gaps, big gaps in legislation, or rather in litigation and laws as it pertains, creatives, digital creators. But then are there apps that digital creators can use in the meantime to protect their work and their creativity from being exploited or used without their consent?
There are a couple of tools that you can use, and a lot of people use these tools every day, but they just don't know how or to what extent they can use that to protect themselves. So metadata tagging has been there for the longest time, and you can, embed meta and data manually into your work. So photographers do this. When you see pictures, you see photo by Zainab or photo by Aisha, things like that. And for videos, you can embed, timestamps of when you actually created that in your video. There are hidden cues here and there you can hide in your video text. And there are some apps like Adobe Lightroom that have more advanced meta tagging and metadata embedment for your work. You can watermark and you can track your content, add like content trackers to your content as well. And there's this new thing about blockchain proof where you can ascribe, your name to it on the and like host it on the blockchain, which is still evolving, definitely. But for creators who are just starting out, who, don't have the extensive knowledge or idea of how to go about embedding these things and how to use, embedding it on YouTube and copyrighting and things like that, they can use Canva. A lot of people use Canva to create every day. You can just have a little watermark on your video to say, done by Barbara, just so anyone sees that content, they see that it's yours. And also very important to timestamp it. The first day you upload that content, add like a time marker on the video. You never know where that video is going to travel to. So if there's ever a conversation about who did this first, or there's an argument that, oh, I saw this thing here first, so I don't think she was the one who did it. If there's a timestamp of who uploaded that thing first, and it originates from you, it's easier for you to navigate those waters. So for me, beyond the apps that are available to creators, the first thing is awareness. Knowing that these things exist, knowing that you're vulnerable to, getting your work stolen or getting your work claimed by somebody else, and then educating yourself on the apps you can use to help you embed that data within your content.
And how about music then? Because there are creators, TikTok for one, is one. Every single time there's a viral music going on, there's some person who's mashed up music. I feel like music has blurred the lines between where it's sampling to completely rip off and even, sample covers. What about music?
Let me also amplify that question here. Let's take a case scenario here, Barbara. I don't know if you remember Michael Jagger, the Gwagwagwongo crooner. This was kind of like a bridge. Digital met, traditional music. And in this case, a creator actually used someone's music from long ago. It blew up. What responsibility was owed the original crooner of this track? And what challenges therein lie when it comes to, I'm going to ask Mr. Adeyemo this, when it comes to copyright infringements. Barbara, you go first.
Okay, so for music trends, as Mr. Adeyemo said, the good thing about it is that technology is catching up. So technology is very reactive, unfortunately, at the moment when it comes to like copyright issues and claims. They don't put not, I won't say they don't protect you outright, but it's more reactive than it is proactive. But for an app like TikTok that you mentioned, these days, when you see samples and covers done by other people, if you click on the sound, you will see the originator of that sound, except the creator lifts the sound and adds it to their content of the TikTok app. So you see them as the originator, which is the, the gray area for people who want to leave this content as theirs. But if you are joining the overall, the bigger trend and the larger trend from the originator's video, when you go on TikTok, you can now see, originator and see the first video that was ever uploaded on the app and who uploaded that video, which is a great way of, giving people attributions for big trends like that. But for trends where music,
Oh, we seem to have lost connection there right at the cusp of it. Barbara, we're hoping that we can get you back. Meanwhile, let's shift over to Kabir Ademo here in the studio regarding copyright and the gray areas like she's just noted as it transcends from traditional media to digital.
All right, so just like she mentioned, right, I'm just going to in corroboration to what she's saying. Many creators don't even know how much of rights they have. For instance, now there are different TikTok trends that maybe someone just making a video, like an example, particular example is the Sopekpo that's trending right now. So it's easier for a musician to just extract that part and put it on their own, on their song or something. But to that particular person that created the video, she doesn't probably know her own right to that particular song. She doesn't know that, okay, this particular voice of mine that they are using in this music,
we see that a lot. They become memes and all of that.
So many don't know, right? So they don't know that they have the right to that particular extracted voice, material, image, likeness that another person is using, because it is an infringement to their work, an infringement to their image, to their likeness, to their privacy. Because I myself, I created a video, I might not want my video or my voice to be used in some certain ways or in a particular music. So I have the right, I have the full right to control how it is used. So we have a lot of that where they will just extract a particular voice of someone and put it on music. Also, the advent of digital space is also making it very easy for musicians to thrive, because as much as we are saying that, okay, there are maybe a couple of challenges, there are also the benefits to it. The advent of AI is making everything very, very hard for our musicians because of the way,
I'm glad you're bringing up AI, because I feel like if AI was around, or this advanced model of AI was around during the early 2000s, when Kanye West put out his debut album, where we saw Selena Johnson redoing All Falls Down that could have been Lauryn Hill. I wonder if you would have used AI to do a deepfake of Lauryn Hill's voice. And we saw that what caused the biggest rap feud in modern day history between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, where Drake used Tupac's voice, deepfake. And really, that as well, if you put that into the context, someone likes my voice, I don't consent to it, they decide to run my voice through an AI and then use it for, I don't know, the biggest bank in Africa for their ad. Where is the laws to protect me?
Yeah, there are laws. The law is actually very glaring, even though the AI that is used is not copyrightable. But the fact that you used my image and likeness, I can bring an action against you.
But would I have to prove that first?
So you have to prove it in such a way that, okay, my image was used, so it's glaring that it's my image. To a reasonable man, they've seen your own work, and they can see my image there, even though maybe it's AI or it's AI. So the fact that I came outside to mention that, no, that's not me. Someone just is trying to infringe on my image, my likeness and all. And I think there's even one of the laws that's that has been enacted with respect to AI now is in United States. The States of Tennessee or something, the act is Elvis Act. So that act seeks to protect the image and likeness of personalities, that you cannot use someone's image, likeness or name without their consent.
What about their voice, like she said? The voice is very, very... but let's ask Barbara. Barbara, we hear you back. Welcome back. Do you want to jump on that and help us? Where are the laws, or perhaps maybe the infrastructure that can guide people's likeness, image, semblance, voice, particularly voice, when it comes to deepfakes and AI being used to replicate what people might look like or sound like?
A lot of these things are happening very recently, where we see people being advertised or advertising a skincare brand, and they come out and say, I never did that. And the brand is just, deep faking them or faking their voice and using their image. A lot of these things are very recent and they're evolving because of like technology and AI. So I think there's a lot of work to be done in that space, and there will still be a lot of work to be done in that space. But the thing is, I think recently the lawsuit I saw for a very big TikTok creator who is suing the company for deepfaking her voice, and the company was arguing that she had a document, or she said somewhere online that she could her data and her videos and things like that could be publicly used and reused and repurposed as long as you attribute her, and they were attributing her. But that is, to me, that was such a bizarre claim and such a loophole. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how that would fly in court. But it's for people to understand the extent that these things could go, especially when you protect yourself in the first place, and when you say, okay, you can use my content but attributes me, and people take that to a different level. So I think that there's a lot of work to be done. And for African creators particularly, when we think about gentrification and just the absorbment of our culture without permission or without proper accreditation, we need to start protecting ourselves even on the granular level by making sure that we are watermarking these things. We are publicly saying when we originate content that we did these things ourselves. We are getting laws that will protect us a bit better, even for the basics, before we even think about AI and the impact of AI of replicating people's voices and things like that. And because those things will come, but if we're ready for them when it comes to placing the right laws in place, then I think things will evolve into a safer, more digital-friendly space for creators.
Adema, do you want to add to that, especially when it comes to the case of gentrification?
Yeah. So with respect to, sorry, I didn't exactly get that part that she mentioned.
She was saying that AI is, although it's fast coming, there's still a bit more time, for that technology to develop, and there are still more gaps between then and now, and even though the laws are evolving.
But let me further add to that. Will caveats sort most of the challenges? If I said, like she had just noted, where the lady had noted that you can use any of my works, as long as you attribute me to them. Will the caveats sort everything if I say, okay, no, I would not allow for this to happen? Under every single maybe post or material that I put out there on digital media, would that sort everything out?
Yes. Because
just by saying I don't need any signed documents or anything.
You can just say it out, but of course you still need some form of enforcement, because it's easier for you to dispute or to disclaim some certain things that, oh, you are not the one that did this. However, those people that are distributing the materials might not want to stop. So you might want to go forward to do some sort of enforcement in court by applying to get an anti-pillar injunction. So the injunction is to restrict those people that are sharing your image, your likeness, and to also clamp down on maybe some physical copies of those materials that they have.
So in a case where I do go to court and have all of these documentation and all, and somebody does use my semblance or voice, what do they owe me? Would I be given some compensation if they earned money from the material that they took from me and used? How much would this be? Who gets to decide? Because I've got my voice out there and people are using it left, right, and center.
Yeah.
I need to make some extra money in this thing of economics.
Yeah, definitely. You're open to seeking for the damages. You're open to reliefs. You can seek for a certain sum as general damage for the usage of your likeness without your authorization. You can also seek for the specific damage of everything that they have incurred from the income they have generated from the usage of your likeness or your image. And I think it's even very easy in the music space, because if someone uses your voice or they used your maybe your content, they extracted maybe a particular content, maybe a video content or content from a content creator, maybe someone like Taoma, they extracted maybe the Quadri aspect and put it on a song. So it's easier for Taoma to just go on streaming platforms and take down the song for copyright infringement.
Wait, Judith, do you remember that police lady who was driving, who was being driven in a car? Help me. Now we have plenty of people who actually use that for music.
Yeah, in fact,
are you saying that she's owed monies?
I think that was resolved.
That was resolved, yeah, because they called them out and then they went to court and it was resolved.
Yeah.
Okay,
it was resolved.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So she has a right to like the usage of her likeness, of her image, of her voice. So if she didn't want her voice to be dead because of the way people are going to like perceive her, maybe the society, help me, people are going to like see her on the streets and probably be calling her, help me, woman. You understand? So she might not want that to be out. Yeah. So she can easily say that, no, I don't want it to be out. They have to extract it. They don't have a choice. Even if the song is very good by a top artist,
help me.
She can't take it down.
Help me, carry me to go. I don't know. I love it. Barbara, before I let you go, your final closing remarks. I mean, advice, what your projections would be for the future as it pertains African creatives and tech enthusiasts.
Okay, so for African creators, we share, we want our content out there, and protecting our content is not hoarding the content. It's just making sure that we are not exploited and they get the right that is due them. So it's important that you first make yourself aware that there's a threat to copyright and intelligence, stealing. I get it that the first thing we want to do as creators is to, go viral, build a community, and just kickstart. But you have to build your digital house before you let people come in. So building that digital house means you have to first make yourself aware of what the cons of doing this thing and how you could possibly not get credit for it. And you have to now put things in place that would make sure that you are protected from the get-go. Become more aware of how to meta tag your data and how to, copyright and watermark your content and the actual rights you have as a creator. When you're having partnerships and negotiations with people, know how to ground yourself really well when it comes to like your rights and things like that. For AI, there are some bloodlines here and there, but as I said, that space is still evolving. And what you need to do is when you're aware of all the things that you need to do as a creator and the rights you have as a creator, just make sure you are fighting for those rights in the interim before there are laws that are proactive rather than reactive to issues like that. So yes.
Oh.
Well, Barbara, I must say thank you for taking our time to join us. Barbara Okafor, as well as...
I still got one more question, Judith. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
This is going to go to Mr. Kabir. Kabir, as Barbara has just noted regarding proactive laws, are there any that are on ground currently, because you're in that space, that are on ground currently to attend to the issues that creators face when it comes to intellectual property?
All right, the Copyright Act is actually very open to everyone to see. They can check online and you can get legal advisories. So the Copyright Act specifically states that, okay, the owner of this particular work is going to enjoy these rights for a particular period of time. Maybe for the music aspects now, you are going to be the copyright owner of that particular music that you create for the lifetime, and even 70 years after the person dies.
70 years, 70.
Yes, specific.
Is there a reason why there's that specific number?
That's the law.
So after 70 years,
so after 70 years, you can renew it.
Oh.
Right. Or you can maybe during your lifetime pass it down to your lineage or your generations or something.
Are there other rules regarding length of material itself? Because I know for music you can make samples only up until a certain length of the material. After that it becomes an infringement. Or am I wrong? I'm not too sure.
I'm not so sure.
So you could use about a few seconds. Anything after 3 seconds or so.
There's a song with Lato, and that she copied Mariah Carey's biggest hit from the 90s. I've forgotten it now.
She's got a lot of them.
Yeah, so there's one, the one, give me your love, give me your love.
Sorry,
and then she when I first heard it at the gym, I was like, what? I was like, oh, Mariah Carey. And then it turns out, I'm like, sitting there rapping, big trick, I can be your fantasy. I'm like, wait, what the? Okay, I Shazammed and I checked it, the whole thing. Barbara, do you know the song?
It's 10 seconds, I think. It's 10 seconds.
There we go.
Even on YouTube, sometimes they let you, if you do up to 10 seconds, once you exceed that, you have to take it down or you have to attribute it, or the owner of the video has to permit you to use it.
So that's for digital. I'm like, that's digital for digital use, yes? Yeah.
I think there's some laws where
that song sounded like a piece of the 90s. I cannot.
So
I have to look for it.
The reason why I asked was because I knew that there was something of the sort when it comes to digital use, and I'm wondering whether proactively our copyright laws here in Nigeria have the sort to protect people, even maybe not on the digital level, but on the regular, traditional intellectual property level.
Yeah, I believe that if you are trying to like use another person's intellectual property and you approach them that you're trying to like use this particular work, you tell them, okay, how many minutes, how many seconds of the work you want to use. And I think the more you use, the higher you are also going to like pay. So if they permit you to like use it, why not? You can use it.
Okay. Well, Kabir Adeyemo, I want to say thank you very much for coming on to help us explain this very interesting bit when it comes to copyright. And of course, Barbara Okafor, thank you for joining us via video. We appreciate that you also join us for Sunday, indeed. Now, while we're letting our guests go, let's jump to the Vatican, where we have our international correspondent, Afia Hagen, who will be giving us details about what's happening on the spot currently. Afia, good to have you here. Good morning. Please give us an update on happenings in Rome.
Yes, I'm at the front of St. Mary Major now. That is a church where Pope Francis has been buried. We saw that procession that took place yesterday through the streets of Rome, going past some of the really iconic landmarks in Rome. You know, it's like really like the world's largest open-air museum. But now the Pope's body has been interred at St. Mary Major. That is the basilica that I am at this morning, along with thousands of people who've been queuing up since 4 a.m. to be able to see the Pope's body. Now, this is the second of 9 official days of mourning. And now this basilica has been opened so people can be able to file past his body, pay the respects at his tomb, labelled Francisco with a simple white rose on top of it. So very busy around here this morning with thousands and thousands of people queuing up, mostly Italian people and the world's press, to be honest.
Okay, Afia, I'm very interested with the world leaders that have besieged, in quote, Rome. There's many of them. We saw a very interesting picture from yesterday with Trump and Zelensky. I'll reserve that question for Judith to ask, but I'm very interested with the sitting arrangement that was utilized yesterday. It was arranged in a French order. Was there any specific reason why this was done so?
Yes, I mean, so the seating arrangement for the open-air mass yesterday, you had the world leaders under a canopy, and they were seated in French alphabetical order. I did try and find out why it was French alphabetical order rather than Italian alphabetical order, because, of course, we are in Italy, but that's just the way it has always been done. Now, there were 2 exceptions to that rule, and that was the president of Argentina, Javier Milei, and Giorgia Meloni, who is the Prime Minister of Italy. They were seated separately because it's Italy's head of state, and of course because the Pope was Argentinian. So they were seated separately, but the rest of the world was seated in French alphabetical order. So you did have Donald Trump, because United States is Italiani in French. He was sitting between the Estonian and the Finnish head of state. Yeah, so it made for some interesting seating arrangements, some comments being made about Prince William and Donald Trump not wearing black. They were wearing dark blue suits. The funeral dress code was dark suits, so they chose to wear their trademark blue suits rather than black. But yes, that was the seating arrangement for yesterday.
All right. I mean, Afia, let's talk about the images we saw yesterday inside the St. Peter's Square, better yet, the Basilica, where we saw the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, and of course, Vladimir Zelensky, the President of Ukraine, head bowed together. It would seem like a very deep discussion. I mean, we sort of anticipated that meet. Is there any word from the White House or from Kyiv as to what was being discussed at that sitting?
Well, I mean, we weren't sure that that meeting was going to happen, because in the morning we had the information that perhaps President Zelensky may not even make the burial of the Pope because of timings. But Trump and Zelensky met before the funeral, and they met again after. Now, Zelensky and the Ukrainian delegation have said that that meeting was very productive and perhaps historic. And we also had President Trump lambasting Putin after the meeting, repeating claims that this war needs to end, that both sides need to come to the table. He is claiming that that deal is very close. But yeah, very iconic pictures, I think, that we saw yesterday taken inside St. Peter's Basilica. You had Zelensky and Trump sitting close together, their heads bowed. And then you had another picture that emerged of Zelensky and Trump with President Emmanuel Macron of France and the UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, the four of them together. And of course, Starmer and Macron have been instrumental in bringing together this coalition of the willing forces across the world, not just from Europe, from Canada as well, or who are willing to come to the aid of Ukraine to help enforce any ceasefire, secure borders by land, air and sea. That's what they have said. And Macron and Starmer have been very instrumental in bringing that force together. So to see them, along with Trump and Zelensky yesterday in St. Peter's Basilica, I think was very significant. Now, we await to hear what more lines will come out about that meeting. If perhaps you will see the two sides, Ukraine and Russia, sitting down together, I mean, that would be really remarkable at this stage to discuss a ceasefire. Last week, we had one of the most brutal days of the Ukraine-Russia war so far, with that bombing in Kiev that saw 15 people killed and dozens injured. So I think yesterday, yes, absolutely, it was significant that we did have Trump and Zelensky communicating in this way. And the fact that it happened at Pope Francis' funeral, and the fact that Pope Francis, was all about peace. He decried the war in Ukraine and Russia, as well as the war in Gaza and the wars in Sudan and DR Congo throughout his papacy. So I think he would have been pleased that hopefully negotiations and talks moving forward to peace happens on the day of his burial.
And just, well, indeed, we do hope that that meeting will bring back some sort of resolution or dispute or just peace. That's what we look for. A ceasefire, better yet, a ceasefire that will be upheld by both ends of the party, particularly Russia. But I must also talk about another thing that was discussed or that has come from this funeral from yesterday, and that was wardrobe. Donald Trump, President of the United States, didn't align he went against the grain, as he normally would, against the script, from what was expected as per attire, the color of attire for the funeral and Vatican laws. Talk to us about that. What is that about?
Yeah, absolutely. So the dress code for the Pope's funeral was dark suit. It wasn't black, it was dark suit. Now, traditionally, the world leaders, as well as their wives, and actually as well as general attendees, members of the press, wore black because it was respectful. Now, Trump was there in his dark blue suit. Notable that Prince William also wore a dark blue suit. Now, this wasn't necessarily wrong because the dress code was dark suit. But President Trump, of course, always likes to stand out, always likes to do things his way. So he really did stand out in that blue suit. It was dark, but it wasn't black, so it did stand out, as did Prince William. And I think when we got the pictures of the lineup of the world leaders, he certainly stood out there. And as you can hear the bells tolling here at St. Mary Major in the Basilica this morning, they do that every half an hour.
Afia, let's talk about diplomatic awkwardness. There's plenty of world leaders there, and of course we know the sensitivities that comes with that kind of a gathering. There's plenty happening in the world. However, the Pope was able, even in death, to bring together so many people with different tensions. Now, let's talk about the maybe moments of tension that might have come up with such a mix of world leaders. Were there any that was noticed, apart from the Trump-Zelensky meet?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A real plethora of world leaders coming together. Former President Joe Biden was in attendance with his wife, Joe Biden, as well as U.S. President, the current President Donald Trump. And we know there's no love lost between them. We didn't see any tensions arise really amongst these leaders. I actually think the focus was really on the reason why they were there. And that, of course, was the burial of Pope Francis. I think for this particular occasion, any differences between perhaps Trump and Biden and anyone else were put to one side. But there were notable absences. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, was not in attendance. Neither was Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. Neither of those world leaders were in attendance. think that was very deliberate. And so I think that kind of made sure that there wasn't any tensions, that no tensions could arise. But like I said, I think the focus really was on the burial of Pope Francis. Now, during the service that was given during his funeral, the cardinal that gave the service did talk about lots of the things that the Pope really adhered to, and that was peace, that was inclusivity, that was treating immigrants properly, and that caused ripples of applause amongst the crowd. You know, when we talked about these things, we talked about the Pope's first foreign trip when he became Pope, and that was to an island where immigrants were taken to off the coast of Italy because he really wanted to embrace immigrants. Something that lots of leaders, not just Donald Trump, but other leaders across Europe haven't done. So I think that was the moment where perhaps politics was brought up. But in terms of tensions amongst any of the attendees, we didn't see any, but I think they kept those below the surface out of respect for Pope Francis.
Out of respect, indeed. I mean, lastly, Afia, lastly, before we let you go, the funeral has happened. He's now been laid to rest. As world leaders go back 15 to 20 days before conclave starts, what's this period looking like for the Catholic Church? What next?
Well, we're entering a period of 9 days of mourning. We're in day 2 of that. So we're in day 2 of 9 days of mourning. And then, of course, we have conclave, which should start between the 6th and the 11th of May. So at this time, I think it's really about reflection and looking back at Pope Francis' life and what he achieved. Also, people will start talking about what is next, who will be the next Pope. Now, you will have the cardinals going behind closed doors. Discussions have already started about which cardinals will be involved in conclave, how that conclave will take place, when that conclave will take place. Those discussions will already have started quietly and, of course, behind closed doors. And then we will be told when conclave begins. And during that time, it's all about the waiting, the wait and see as to who will be the next Pope. Lots of discussions about the candidates. Is it time that we have a Pope from the continent of Africa or Asia? That's where we have the fastest number of growing Catholics at the moment. The Catholic Church is growing exponentially across Asia and Africa. So perhaps it's time that we had a Pope from that part of the world, remembering that Pope Francis was the first Pope who was from the global south. Perhaps we'll continue that tradition. But at the moment, like I said, we're in day 2 of 9 days of mourning. It's a time of reflection, and then it's building up to the conclave, which will begin between the 6th and the 11th of May.
Oh, yes, indeed. I mean, we do hope for a first, and by first, I mean maybe a first in modern day time for an Asian or an African, a Pope of African descent. We hope for that. Afia, well done, and thank you so much for all of your hard work, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you very much, Afia.
Afia Hagen, international correspondent for News Central Television, giving us a bit of in-depth updates from Vatican.
I was hoping to ask her about the Nigerian delegation, of which we had Papio and, of course, Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu there. I don't know if they were cited at all. I would really have loved to know details about their appearance there at the funeral. But let's end the show, shall we?
African leaders, and also African leaders as well. We know that William Ruto was there in attendance. We saw him, I think, behind the second row there about. But also Joe Biden was also in attendance, and he was invited on as a friend of the Vatican there because he's a devout Catholic.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, this is where we draw the curtains. It's been a sublime weekend.
Yes,
We're
indeed
giving you the very best just for you, giving you all the live updates from the funeral of the late Pope Francis, His Holiness the late Pope Francis, and then all the way today, giving you in-depth analysis, not only in Nigeria, but also Africa and Ghana as well.
Well, that's it for the weekend. Join us again next week, bright and early, but in between now and then, do join our colleagues in for Breakfast Central tomorrow from 7 up until 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. Until then, it's goodbye from us, and we'll catch you guys during the week or maybe next weekend. Bye-bye.